that this assembly election is very important. We know that in the Central Valley, there's a lot of issues that one of you is going to be tackling within the next years as an elected member in our state legislature. And one of them is student issues when it comes to higher education, COVID-19, and the reopening process. So my first question is, what do you think should be the proposed reopening process for the K through 12 and higher education system? The question first goes to Rudy Salas.
For that question, yeah, I think we need to continue to let our public health directors and the science kind of guide us in that. And obviously we need to reopen, and we need to make sure that we're doing it safely, making sure that we're keeping students safe, making sure we're keeping the faculty safe. So we have to be methodical. We have to be science driven on that. We got to make sure that the data supports what we're doing to make sure that everybody's safe.
Now the question will go to Todd Cotta.
You know, a lot of the things Rudy said is correct, making sure people are safe, but the government can only do so much to make people safe, and personal responsibility is a big, big part of that. Right now, I'm looking at a stat from the CDC from this year, and when you look at the infection rate, infections happen and people get sick. We cannot stop that, and this must go through society in order for us to get past it. But the more we make it slow down, the longer these governmental shutdowns, and California is going to keep stepping on us. We have to get these schools open. We have to let this virus do what this virus is going to do. The likelihood of dying from COVID is less than driving from my home to Bakersfield, okay, in a car. We have to make this real. I know it is a dangerous virus, and I've had several of my employees have it, and they've all gotten through it just fine. We cannot protect people from cradle to grave, and we must realize that this has to go through society.
My next question to both of you, and it will go to Todd Cotta first. What intrigued you to run for election this year?
A lifelong resident of California and the Valley here, I have seen Sacramento and I've seen the Democrats destroy this state. They're running industry and business out of this state. The exodus of tax-paying citizens is in the 100,000 a year or more. There's a reason for that. We have made the perfect homeless environment. Sacramento has purposely done this so that we can all be in fear and we can turn to Sacramento for help. We have 25% of the homeless people in America in this state. That's not by accident. That is by design by the Democrats, and we must get back to law and order. We must get back to holding people accountable. And I'm tired of seeing Sacramento run over us. If nothing else, be a voice for radical change up there so we can get this state back on track.
Then the question will now go to Rudy Salas.
Thank you for that question. Appreciate it. Really, when people ask me, why do you keep doing this and why do you want to keep running? And it always boils down to trying to do some good for our area, right? Trying to make life a little bit better for people. I tell people I was born and raised here in the Valley. My family still lives here. We've all grown up here. I got my tias, cousins, uncles. Look, I wake up every day trying to figure out how can I make life a little bit better. So that's why you always see us kind of advocating and fighting for things. So like when the hospital was going to close, we fought to make sure that it stayed open, right? When we see kids out there that need school supplies, like we go and supply backpacks. When they need coats, we go give winter coats. Right now, since the pandemic, a lot of people have been needing help with, you talked about it earlier, the food insecurity. It's really just going out and trying to do and build off of what we've been doing. So whether that's, like I said, the money for Valley Fever or the money we've done for higher education, those are the things I think about, and why I keep running for re-election is really just a fight for people and for our community.
The next question is, in what ways do you think the state should move forward with the reopening process? And the question will go now first to Rudy Salas.
All right, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Obviously, California is huge, like you were saying. It's the 5th largest economy in the entire world. Our economy in California is larger than other countries. But with that, we have such a diverse community and diverse economy in the state of California. So when you look at reopening and what we should do, like I said, I think we should make sure that we're still being guided by the science and by the health. Right, what the health experts are saying. And that's why everybody cares about what Dr. Fauci is saying or what the latest is coming out from the CDC, or whether it's our Department of Public Health here locally. I think we need to continue to let science guide us and make sure that we're opening up safely and that we're doing this in the best possible manner and the safest possible manner that we can.
The question will now go to candidate Todd Cotta.
When you put Kern County, Tulare County, Kings County, and Fresno County's population together, you have the population of Idaho. This state is massive, and it's very difficult to have a one-size-fits-all policy for Northern California, Southern California, the deserts, the mountains, the far sides of the Sierra, San Diego, and then the coastal counties. You can't do that. I think personal responsibility has to play a lot in what we are dealing with right now. We need responsible people to do it responsibly, and we need to get out there and encourage people to get out and get back to life and get this governor off of our back. Schools can reopen. People will go up and down with this sickness, but once again, it has to go through society before it'll stop affecting us. So yes, we need to get these things reopened. We need to have a systematic process to do that, but do it as quickly as possible. One of my opinions, I guess you might say, is that yes, we do have issues when it comes to emissions and tailpipes and all those things. But I'm also at a point where technology is getting better and better and better to help make our vehicles cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. But people shouldn't think that electrification of vehicles is the end of the world or the next big thing or whatever else, because there's other parts of the world that are being devastated by the mining of lithium. The CO2 print from the construction of an electric car is only about 4% less over its life than the entire life of an oil-burning car. The world is changing, just like it changed for the newspapers, right? Just like it changed for network television, just like it changed for many, many things. And we will be moving towards hydrogen-based and towards electric-based vehicles. And as we get better with technology, those things are going to happen. So my warning is simply this: oil industry must start recognizing that there are changes coming, and they need to start positioning themselves for the future that's coming. If they don't, they're going to be in big, big trouble in 15 or 20 years, big time. And so, yes, we need petroleum. If the computers you guys are all on right now need petroleum. The clothes that you're wearing right now need petroleum. The bottle that he's drinking out of right now needs petroleum in order to be there. So we must find a way to safely transition out without destroying economies, without destroying people's lives, without destroying industries at the same time.
Next is Rudy Salas.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. You know, obviously growing up in the Valley, we always know that air quality is always an issue that we always have to deal with. One of the things that we do a lot of is support the tune-in, tune-out programs, getting those old clunkers and those kind of cars that are polluting the most off the road. The other thing too is supporting things like, you know, we have a lot of dairies here in the Central Valley. And so now what we're doing is we're capturing all that methane and using it through biodigesters. So we're creating renewable energy. So we're moving away from like looking at the tailpipe-based emissions, trying to figure out ways to get better about it. And then when you look at kind of what the oil industry is doing, you know, things are changing and they recognize that. And I know that they do because I talked to Era, who's now building the second largest solar plant in the entire world. I think the first one is in Saudi Arabia, and I think here in Kern County is going to be the second largest one in the entire world. So they kind of see this transition happening, and we do at the state as well and at the Capitol. Because, you know, at the end of the day, we know that the world is changing and that there's an impact, but we have to do our part to make sure that we're helping clean up the air as much as we can, making those investments into the future.
Next question was emailed into us, and so one of our students wants to know, what are the top 3 issues that you feel like are most important for you to tackle in the next legislative season? And so we'll first go to Rudy, and then Todd, if you're elected.
First and foremost is how do we do an economic recovery package that's going to make sure that we uplift as many Californians as we can. Aside from that, you know, the other big things that we always have to deal with, I think we're still going to be dealing with COVID, you know, moving forward. It's either COVID directly or if there's a vaccine, but we're going to definitely be dealing with the impacts. So we're still going to be dealing with that. I know for us here in the Valley, I always say, you know, jobs is always very important. Better schools, making sure that we're supporting our schools and the infrastructure for them. and making sure we have safe neighborhoods and really bringing more water, because that's always an issue for us in the Central Valley, because we need safe drinking water for our communities, especially our rural communities as well. So I would say those are probably some of the top issues we'll be looking at.
Reopening the state is top. Jobs, 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 getting people off unemployment. But jobs and reopening are paramount for us. And when I mean jobs, I mean building the economy, getting industry back in the state. We need to let people get out and do their thing and stop trying to micromanage everything they do. Water issues are very, very close to my heart. I was a water district supervisor for many, many years over at Laguna Irrigation District, and getting the state to recognize water as a renewable energy source is a big, big priority for me. And back to the economy again, we must start making our tax base and our regulatory base so friendly that people want to bring their businesses to California, not chase them out of California.
What plans would you have for improving or revising the Cal Grant system? And we'll start first with Todd.
The Cal Grant program, though, right now, there's not much to improve when we have a $40 billion deficit with this state because of the mismanagement of this governor and the Democrats up in Sacramento. They have been spending money like crazy, and we have no money to improve or change anything right now until we can build the economy, bring new industry into the state, and lower regulations and lower taxes.
Next is Rudy.
Yep. Like I said, I think Cal Grants are vitally important. I had to rely on them myself when I was in school. Students actually need this because this is a determining factor whether or not they continue to go on to school for a lot of folks. Because if they can't afford it, or they're having a hard time trying to make ends meet or pay for their classes and pay for the books, because the books only continue to cost more every single year, then we need to be able to provide that support for the students.
The question I have is, the CSU system has a high number of food insecurity, 41.6% to be exact, which is an alarming rate. Considering that it may be higher now due to the COVID-19 pandemic, if elected to the Assembly, how would you address this issue to drop the rate of food insecurity for students? The question will now first go to Todd Cotta.
I'm a personal responsibility person, 100%. And, you know, if there are some programs out there that the community can do and that the churches can do and those kinds of things, God bless them. But I think on its face, just food insecurity even being a thing is kind of laughable, because I've been through it. Everybody that's ever been in college has been through it. So let's just buck up and let's get the job done, and let's take care of each other at school.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your response. The question will now go to Rudy Salas.
All right, thank you. Yeah, food insecurity, it's real, right? It's something that students, even myself, right? We all kind of go through, and we live and we experience that. But that's why, you know, I'm so proud of the food pantry program there at Cal State Bakersfield, because we know students should be focused on trying to get good grades and getting through that midterm or that final or writing that paper, instead of trying to figure out like, oh my God, I'm so starving, I can't even think about my exam and think about my test, right? So we know it's real. We know that we have to do something. And I think that's why you've seen the state step up, not only with legislation, but to actually fund these programs. And I know in the last budget too, we even put $300 million more towards the food banks and for the food pantry programs, because we want students to be focused on school and getting good grades and moving on, and understanding that, you know, this isn't a handout, but a hand up. And we're trying to make sure that students have those resources so that they can succeed, because we want you all to succeed moving forward. And you know, and if we have these programs that can help you do that, so whether it's the food pantry program or whether it's a Cal Grant, you know, those are the things we need to do to support our students and to invest in the future.
I think the next question I would have for both of you is, would you be willing to support if the Assembly constructed a bill to give students a COVID-19 relief package? Because we know that many of our students are going through increasing numbers of unemployment rates. And the question will first go to Rudy Salas.
Yes, I think students are going to be included in whatever economic recovery package we talk about for the state, right? And I think that needs to be it needs to be all inclusive though. It's not just students, it's our small businesses. It's making sure that people that have lost their hours or lost their jobs because of the pandemic or because of COVID are actually kind of made whole, right? How are we creating those jobs for people to continue to keep working, right? We want them to continue to work, and how do we do that and provide that infrastructure and that backbone?
Until we can get our house in control and stop this deficit that is in the billions and billions of dollars right now because of the way the governor has managed this state. We went from a surplus to a deficit in no time at all. And please understand that it was the governor that locked this state down. It was not the federal government that locked this state down. And until we can get all this stuff sorted out and get the money back and start being more fiscal in our house in Sacramento, I just don't see a whole lot of change happening soon until we can build the state back up. I can tell you, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I can tell you that all day long, but that doesn't mean it's true, guys.
I appreciate both of your responses. Since we're running short of time, I want to ask first and foremost for closing statements, and I would like to start off with Rudy Salas.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Let me just say thank you as a beginning just for hosting this and having us on. I think it's important that the students and that you guys understand, the impact of the elections and how your voice matters and how every vote counts. I mean, even here in the Valley, here in Kern County, we've seen ballots or ballot measures actually pass or lose by one vote. I think that happened out in the city of Wasco last time, right? And when you start looking at it, that could have been you, right? And when you look at elections, sometimes it comes down to maybe 5 votes per precinct. So 5 votes per neighborhood. And you think about your family members and what that impact can be. Just if you got you and your friends to vote by themselves. I'm always proud when I see young people engage, because I'm like, yes, right? Like they're involved and it means something. And I remember when I was at Cal State Bakersfield, I think it was 4 years ago, and we were talking at the Accardo Center, and the place was filled, and we had the vice president in at the time. And I remember telling the crowd, like, look, if you care about, the rising cost of tuition, if you care about your rising expenses, then you should care about the election and you should care about getting involved. And, the crowd roared because everybody kind of understood that, right? Like we need to get engaged and we need to get involved. And so I appreciate you guys having this forum, and just know from my perspective and from me, I'm going to continue to keep doing everything that I can to support students, to support our community.
Over the past 5 years at my small business, I have raised more than 1,200 units of blood for the Central California Blood Center. I have had donated through my facility close to 20,000 pounds of food for a local Catholic food pantry. We're here to help the people in our community as much as possible. And I really do appreciate what you guys do down there in your pantry. And those are the people that make a community better. And in addition to that, we've contributed well over $40,000 over the past 5-6 years to the Animal Welfare Fund in the County of Kings. We do what we can to try and make our community better, and that's what I would do in Sacramento, was try to make all of our communities better. But my opponent there said one thing: can the government do more? The government can do more to get out of our way and let us figure out how we can all prosper, not trying to tax and spend us to death like they've been doing over the past many, many years. Regardless of win or not, I'm here to support you guys and to make sure that these kids are taken care of. Thank you so much.
I want to thank CSUB, ASI, Vanessa, and Ilaria for being in this conversation, as well as Mariana, who also gave us a contact with Rudy Salas. I want to thank all of our fellow Roadrunners and everyone attending today's discussion. Of course, I want to thank our both candidates, Todd, Cotta, and Rudy Salas, for joining us. It was an amazing conversation that I was thankful to be a part of as the Vice President of Legislative Affairs. I want to say thank you to everyone. And remember that we are in a few days from an election, so please turn in your ballots through mail, or you can also drop it off at any polling place on November 3rd. And stay safe, runners. And thank you so much for everyone.